The Building Better Relationships Journal and Meditation. We created the Building Better Relationships Journal and Meditation so you can magnetize the better relationships you want and focus on the positive role that you have in creating a better life through your relationships. We are excited for you to discover the gold within you that can help you manifest the love we all crave. The Building Better Relationships Journal has coaching questions that help you listen to the truth of what you want and what helps you to be empowered in love. The Building Better Relationships meditation is designed to strengthen your heart's ability to be that change you wish to see in the world. Why not download it now and think of it as a gift to those you love? If you love journaling and meditation, this is for you. Welcome to Building Better Relationships at Home and at Work with Angela and Patti podcast. This is Patti, a leadership and work-life balance coach from Arizona, USA.
And this is Angela, love and relationship coach from Sydney, Australia. And we are building better relationships with you.
Sharing new perspectives on being heart-centered at home and at work.
So you can draw on your inner power to make your relationships and the world a better place to be around. Welcome to Building Better Relationships at Home and Work with Angela and Patti. We have a special guest, Dr. Gaia Sciaranghella.
Gaia is an intuitive, a mentor for life transformation, and soul coach who specializes in practices for mind-body balance, energy healing, spiritual awareness, and personal development. Gaia is the founder of the Awakening of Gaia and is based in Boston, USA, and the creator of a methodology to awaken our inner brilliance, our inner energy propelling us to act in the world with vibrancy and confidence.
She's also a scientist trained in traditional medicine, so she brings a grounded and practical approach to her work in the spiritual and holistic health space. She has spent many years of her professional career in managerial and leadership roles, and this prepared her for her mission to empower spiritually conscious and soul-led women to be leaders in all aspects of their lives. Through her unique way of blending science-based holistic medicine modalities with novel spiritual techniques, she's on a mission to lead women to access the language of their souls in daily life, establishing a lifelong rapport with their inner power and intuition to live a more joyful, uncomplicated, and deeply satisfying life.
She has proudly inspired countless people to blossom in life and be more in touch with their inner wisdom, both through her online presence and in-person work. When not working, Gaia enjoys long walks in nature, exploring new restaurants, dancing, and making new friends. And she would love to connect with you as well. Welcome, Gaia.
Hi. Hi, Patti. Hi, Angela.
Did you know that you and Angela have something in common?
Oh, no. What is that?
It is you both enjoy dancing.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's so fun.
Yeah. And we both have Italian background. So there must be something in the
air.
The Italian background dancing.
Yeah, really true.
So Gaia, can you please tell us and the listeners about you and why are you passionate about what you do as an intuitive life evolution mentor and soul coach?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me on your amazing podcast. It is an honor to be able to chat with you and your listeners about my work and how we can bring them a different perspective when we consider either relationships or our work-life balance. So let's start with a little bit about my story. I am originally from Italy, as you already said, and have been living in Boston for the last 15 years. I have always been intuitive since I was a kid, but dealing with intuition is not something so common, or at least it was less common way back. I didn't know what to do with my intuition. I always knew I wanted to help people, although at the time I didn't know how. And I loved science, so understanding how our bodies and our minds work, and you will see in a moment how all this comes back full circle into my story. So the most common way to achieve all these was for me to study to become a researcher and a scientist. And this is what brought me in the United States. So although my logical side was, and it is actually very developed, and I achieved what many people consider professional success, I felt still that something was missing. So my main goal was at the time attaining professional success, but I was feeling empty and dissatisfied. So my attitude for research brought me over many years, slowly but surely, to embark on a journey towards healing, to recuperate that intuitive part of me that I had to leave behind. So to me, actually, healing needs to be understood as a process to recuperate wholeness in all aspects of the self. So I trained in many healing modalities for mind-body balance, energy healing, and spiritual development. See where all the curiosity for mind and body comes back. And as I was changing, to my great surprise, life around me started to change as well. So I overcame work burnout. I started to have a more positive outlook towards life and started to feel more and more calm, balanced, and joyful. And more the person I knew I was deep down. So I was able to remain with a foot in science and Western medicine while having another foot in complementary medicine. And I would say that recuperating all parts of me brought me joy, fulfillment, and a great desire to bring a similar life transformation to people, because I was thinking, if I can do this for myself, why I cannot help others to do the same? So reconnecting with my essence, my talents, with the possibilities to be more than what I thought I was going to be, was actually instrumental to be able to embody the mentor and the soul coach that I am now for people. And my passion really lies in being a mentor for both personal and spiritual development, for spiritually conscious and heart-centered, soul-led women who really want to make a difference in their own life and in the life of others. I am very proud to be guiding them and facilitate this transformation for them, both on the front of the personal and spiritual development. And I'm also proud because this sets me apart from many coaches and mentors who work just on one aspect of people growth.
Thank you, Gaia. That was very interesting. What is clarity ignition?
Yes. So in my quest for joy, I embarked in training and development of my intuitive skills as well. And I got trained and certified in Reiki, energy medicine, medical intuition, and seeing many women confused, feeling stuck, not understanding why they feel stuck and in need of guidance, I developed a fully remote session, which I called Clarity Ignition, which is partially a reading about their energetics and emotional imbalances, and part a healing to shift their energy to recuperate clarity. So it is a fantastic session that my clients love as really spots some light on their blind spots and gives them an initial spark in the engine. That's why I call that clarity ignition, to start to implement changes. As a matter of fact, I always give them some homework and exercises and tips and tools on how to continue to shift their energy in practical ways on their own. Because being a healer who cares about their clients, I really believe that we should empower our clients to understand how to heal on their own and not to depend severely on us. So they really don't depend severely on me once they learn.
And Gaia, can you please explain about empowering spiritually conscious women to become leaders of a joyful, meaningful, deeply satisfying and uncomplicated life?
Sure, it's a mouthful actually.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, you will see it's pretty simple. I mean, to me, at least in my mind, it's pretty linear now that I got this experience. So in my own experience, really, I came to understand that seeing our bodies as a bunch of bones and muscles, and our world as a pile of physical things, and our lives as a series of experiences happening to us, like we are some sort of victims of the destiny, is actually very disempowering and can only make us unhappy. So when we start, however, to consider that we have a soul which moves us through our vital energy, speaks to us via the language of our intuition and insight, we start really changing our lives. We start developing awareness that really we have the power and a say in our lives. So I became really passionate to empower women struggling with lack of self-confidence, worries, confusion regarding life decisions, or experiencing stagnancy, dissatisfaction with their own lives, or wanting to transition to a different life path to recuperate this deepness with themselves that really will be reflected, and I have no doubt about that. I've seen that numerous times. It will be reflected on the relationships and on their work-life balance. So I really believe that to appreciate fully our own physical life, we should really learn to embrace our spiritual side as well. And I know that it may seem counterintuitive because we are really taught to see these two parts of ourselves so separate. But actually, life, like really, if you are in the physical world, you cannot be spiritual because being spiritual is something so out there, or vice versa. If you are spiritual, you are really not with the feet on this earth, but really it's not like that. We are both. So when we learn to embrace both aspects, the spiritual and the physical, as they go really hand in hand, and we are aware and confident that we can change what we do not like about ourselves in our life, really our life becomes purposeful and deeply satisfying.
I wanted to just share how that really resonates for me when you described that seeing ourselves as just a series of muscles and bones and a sequence of events. It just lacks a sense of vitality. But when you describe bringing that spiritual purpose or bringing that sense of the energy that is behind all the muscles and the bones, behind all the sequences of events in our lives, already even you describing it like that, I just feel more life in my body. I feel my body coming alive.
Because just conceiving, that's what I found, our physical life, just a physical life. We just go through the motion without, any really vitality. When we really feel that we have the power to change something, even through the energetics, as I teach to my clients, we really start seeing the words with different eyes, really. So, and if I can digress just for a moment, I would like to just say a word about leadership, because for the leaders listening to this episode, because I encourage women to become leaders in all aspects of their own life. So what does really mean? So I believe that harnessing our inner wisdom, rediscovering our intuition that always guides us, besides only being in our logical mind, it's really paramount, as we were saying. as only embracing our sensitivity and compassion for ourselves and for others, we can become better leaders. And not only work or in business, but also in relationships. Being a leader, after all, is not really following a series of productivity rules or checking off a list of behavioral traits. It is not only developing empathy, but actually compassion towards others in order to be better attuned to their emotions, understand them, even to better negotiate with them. It is being creative, thinking out of the box, and inspire others. And I would add, there is as well an energetic component, if you will, in this package of leadership, because a leader is actually able to raise the morale of the people who is working with, but what it is, after all, it's raising others' vibrations. So if we think in terms of energetics, that's what a leader does.
Gaia, how can we discover our inner brilliance and ignite our relationships in our day-to-day life with zest and purpose?
Yes. To me, inner brilliance is, the way I conceive it, is the spark of the divine. This unique characteristic energy of our soul that propels us to act in the world with confidence. And if you will, the flavor of our soul. We all have different flavors and different purposes. And it's the flame giving us that vibrancy we were talking about. When we feel, for example, low, it is as well the connection with the divine, that the divine help that is all around us, however you want to call it. Now, I always say to people I meet or to my clients, you may not really believe that we are divinely helped and guided, but at least believe that you have a soul that is guiding you. That is the first step. And it really, we can discover our brilliance when we learn to establish dialogue with our soul, to better understand our desires, our motives. So we can really answer to the question, what does really move me today? Why I want what I want, regardless of what others are saying or thinking. We need really to go within to reignite this flame, because I believe strongly, for example, I believe really strongly in God, in a higher power, but I cannot hope he or she will do all the work for me if I'm not willing to put in the work for myself. So when we are able to understand and own fully our own talents, as I did, we live a more purposeful and satisfactory life. And this in turn helps us to understand better others and improve our relationships, as I was saying.
How do you explain what the soul is to your clients?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And in our brain-centric societies, is actually normal, I think, to be accustomed to the idea of success, which might not be ours. So just imposed maybe by our own culture, we are accustomed to wanting to do something or to be someone just because we do not know better, as I really did years ago. But basically, we may be moved by desires which are ultimately not ours. So they have been imposed on us and we not even realize that. And then we wonder why we are unhappy. We suffer and we cannot put our finger in it or understand why. But underneath these acquired conditionings and consequent feelings limiting us, like the well-known fear, guilt, or shame, which are all elements that I call the clouding elements of the soul, our soul is there, is unchangeable, is constant, is a quiet presence always guiding us, holding our deepest desires, holding our purpose, the reason we came to this earth. So this is the spiritual part that is always nudging us to feel that something may be out of place, that little voice inside of us, that maybe something needs to change for us to be happy. So to me, our soul is our divine essence. And I know this is already hard to grasp it because it's an intangible item. But we can see the effect of the power of our soul when we act in the world. It's like love. You cannot measure love, but you can measure its effects, right?
Yes.
So even our emotions and energy are intangible, but however, emotions and energy can constantly change and fluctuate during our days. But our soul is the most perfect, closer to our divine essence, divine source, an unchangeable voice in the background. So it's really, if you will, the indestructible part of us, the most resilient part of us. So how many times we make choices not in integrity with what our soul wants, and then we keep feeling dissatisfied. And then we keep doing the same mistakes until really we make the choice that really makes us happy. So the voice in the background is always there guiding us. And even our bodies, we know, right? Our bodies will change, but our soul is constant and cannot be destroyed ever. So if we look at the soul under this perspective, it gives actually this so much courage and strength and to move through the difficulties of life. It's really our indestructible part.
Beautiful. Thank you,
Yes.
Gaia. How does what you share in your work strengthen relationships?
Yeah. Thanks for this question. It's really an interesting perspective. I believe that when we heal ourselves and do constant work on the first relationship that we have with ourselves, clearly we are better equipped to make other relationships work. And I strongly believe that better relationships with others start with a better relationship with ourselves. So as I was telling you before, as I illustrated through my own story, my experience, starting to listen to the urges of our soul, we will start owning really our talents fully. So helping people strengthen the connection with their intuitive self, I basically help them better recognize their attitudes, the pressure that they have may have been exposed because of familiar cultural or societal conditionings, and help them to free themselves from those traumatic adaptations for survival. Those are all adaptations that are obscuring who we really are, those clouding elements of the soul. So when this sense of separateness and isolation from others fades away, the sense of unity we gain makes us closer one another. And these offer another opportunities to better our relationships. We really feel close to others. So another bonus of this type of work is when my clients give themselves permission to follow the path that really satisfies them. And they will develop more compassion for themselves, as I was saying before. And when we have compassion for ourselves, we have more compassion for others. We can better understand their point of view. We become better listeners, and our relationships can only improve, really. There is no other way. And we can also look at this from different perspectives. Because if you look at that from the perspective, from a psychological, mental, or physical point of view, we could say that if we are frustrated, anxious, nervous, stressed, dissatisfied, we easily bring all these negative aspects into our relationships. But when we are at peace with ourselves, we are at peace with others. I'm more willing to resolve conflicts with them, for example. And if we look at how my work can actually impact relationships from an energetic and spiritual point of view, we could say that we then start reflecting outward what we have inward, or we will project on others some positive vibes. Really depends how you look at the relationships.
It's fascinating to hear you share about how people perceive the spiritual part of life, of the world, of themselves. And what you mentioned earlier about measuring the results of love in our lives, or how we feel about our lives, and that perception of success from the material point of view versus success by fulfilling what your soul desires, or by living your true path in life. So it was great to hear how you explained the soul to your clients. How do people receive your combination of your science-based work combined with the soul? And maybe you can share some other examples of how you combine the more woo-woo or energetic aspect with real life for your clients.
Sure. So I must say that, first of all, to be really, really honest, I do not use the term woo-woo. I usually do not like this term, and the way people actually in the woo-woo word use it, because being spiritual is something we all have in common, even when we do not know, or we do not exactly know what spiritual means, because it may mean different things for different people, when in fact we may be more spiritual than we think. We all have energy systems, intuitive abilities. We are able to heal each other through words, love, care, and even energy. This is available to anyone. So it is in our inherent nature. So calling this woo-woo sometimes is putting almost a negative label or a negative connotation on something that is so natural. And those that actually use this type of label, that's just my personal experience, but personal opinion, by the way. They are a little bit self-relegating themselves in a category where other people will perceive them as weird, which actually should be very natural. Using, these approaches for balancing mind, body, spirit, and energy, which are all in connection, is becoming more and more accepted in our society. So that it's really something I believe it's really natural for people. Our wise ancestors, after all, thousands of years ago, used to do to use these tools and these skills, which now we have lost. So even years ago, just to go back to your question regarding, some modalities that are more like seen as wood compared to others. Even years ago, mindfulness was seen as something weird and not belonging to our own culture or accepted by science, just because it belonged to different spiritual cultures for centuries. And there were no scientific proof of its validity. But it was like that until actually studies confirmed the involvement and the effect of the brain on the brain of these practices. Now it is more and more used, even in the clinical setting. See how science then lately will catch up with common knowledge. So regarding energies, the ways to demonstrate actually their existence are under investigation. We still do not have invented yet machines able to measure the presence of energies. But the research has been published highlighting the paths of the meridians, for example, or the effect of Reiki healing. And we know that our aura is partially made of our electromagnetic field, which we give out and we can measure. So after all, acupuncturists work on the meridian paths, which are energetic paths in the body. And as I mentioned, the power of the soul is tangible. As my spiritual teacher would say, it is the capacity we have to influence a situation or a course of events, even though we cannot see or measure the soul. So the way I work with people, it's actually using both science-backed modalities, like somatic embodiment practices for emotional exploration, trauma release, trauma-informed practices for nervous system recovery, or approaches for mind-body health and stress reduction, like breath work, meditation, mindfulness, visualization, shadow work, mindset work. But I combine them with advanced energy management approaches like energy healing, spiritual healing, and coaching, and development of intuitive skills. So I truly believe the integration of all these disciplines for optimal results for people's well-being. And regarding the way it is received from my clients, well, it is generally well received by those that are deciding to work with me, because I'm clearly not everybody's cup of tea. And women working with me needs to have a broader and holistic understanding of life. They need to be really hungry to better themselves. And they know that it's totally doable and are really committed to put in the work. So, yeah, I understand that talking about less tangible parts of us may sound so abstract to many, but maybe because of my scientific training and my logical skills, I always need to understand how to make things practical, how all these teachings can result in tangible actions for people. So to see the manifestation of our work in relationships or the work environment, it's really the basis for manifestation. When we change ourselves, we start manifesting things. So people working with me can rest assured that I combine the tangible and intangible for them. And I give them practical ways that can apply my guidance.
Gaia, in your work, you talk about nervous system rewiring. Mm-hmm. What is that? Could you please explain it?
Yeah, it's another type of offering that I have for people, and it's based again in scientific science modalities. So I would say that we often want to better our relationships or improve our work situation, but nothing can. Sometimes we can change. Many can tell us just to adopt a positive attitude or repeat a bunch of affirmations, or they can motivate us to show up more for ourselves and everything will be all right. Something like, you can do it. And we read a bunch of these phrases or feel-good phrases on socials. And I must say, it may work for many, but not for all. And sometimes this is, I believe it can be upsetting. And we still find it really difficult to apply. And sometimes it's not even being under pressure that actually can move the needle for us. And so why is that? Why is happening like that? And reality is that our nervous system is not on board with these type of practices when we have trauma, for example. So it keeps resorting a fight of freeze response. And we keep sabotaging ourselves because it's the way our nervous system wants to keep us safe. So we need really our nervous system to feel safe and our subconscious beliefs to align with what we want. Because in the end, our inner beliefs that many times we are not aware about, they do not come on our full awareness in our cognitive part of the brain, are really those that run the show. So this is why sometimes cognitive or talk therapy does not really work for everyone, because we have trauma, anxiety, stress, past issues that get stored in our bodies. And it's not something that I'm making up. It's something that has been shown by researchers and experts in the field numerous times. So I experienced that, for example, firsthand a few years ago, when I was so stressed and overwhelmed at work that I could not make a better, most positive impact on my own life. So I had really to accept and process the traumatic effect of burnout, the toxic work environment I had accumulated for years before being able to accept my gifts and to embrace all the parts of myself. And this goes actually for relationships as well, because I believe until we heal what we keep storing in our subconscious mind, and one way to access it, it's actually through our bodies, we will always keep repeating some patterns in relationships, for example, and the same people and situations will keep showing up in our lives. So deliberately focus on feeling emotions in our bodies rather than processing them through a rational or analytical approach, brings actually healing and changes in the way we manifest things. So that's a long-winded intro to tell you, to go back to your question, to tell you how I gave birth to my nervous system rewiring session. So it's a session which is rooted in therapeutic trauma and somatic experiencing informed practices. It helps to alleviate chronic conditions, reconcile or let go of distressing emotions or echoes of traumatic experiences, to encourage really shift to open up to an abundant life. When you really remove and start working on these traumatic imprints, then you can open up to an abundant life. And then the manifestation can happen in whichever way we want to conceive the word manifestation, can be in the energetic or in physical way. So simply put, manifesting cannot happen if we do not feel safe to manifest.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I really wanted to bring, a session that was really rooted in science, compared to other sessions that I do, which are more maybe geared towards energy healing. So there is a little bit of flavor for everyone.
So from what you're saying is a lot of times when we can't manifest, there's some healing that needs to happen to encourage you to be able to manifest.
Yeah, exactly. And if we think about manifesting like really having something we want in our life, now I'm really going into really the physical, aspects of life. We really cannot think to have something if we continue to be the person we were actually before, having a certain, if we want to manifest, it means that we have a desire for something new, for something different. And we cannot get it if we are stuck in the older, I would say, consciousness. That it's really another concept, but we really need to work on healing first, as you said, before being able to really open the path and clear the way.
And that's probably why a lot of people can't manifest what they truly want.
Exactly.
Because they haven't changed.
Exactly. You cannot really think about embodying a different person, because that's really the basis of manifestation, if you are in your older patterns and you're in your actually unhealed self. So and that's why I really don't believe that repeating a bunch of affirmation, while it may work for some people, cannot work for others. I had a client actually a few months ago. She was like, I was going in through these different workshops about dating, I was buying flour for myself, I was going through the vision board, and nothing happened. But she had so much trauma stored from her childhood that she couldn't possibly she was going through the motion. That's we are going back through, really going in the physical world through the motions without really going back to herself and really addressing why some patterns were manifesting in a certain way for her.
That makes me really remember how Patti was talking about in our last podcast using Reiki to help balance the leaders, because sometimes they're in a toxic environment and they're picking up all that toxic energy, and they've had it for maybe a decade or two, and they're operating from that old way of being. And also for me, I combine coaching and healing, and always have, because without looking at what's blocking the energy, if you have trauma, that's literally an energy block. And that it even stops you from seeing what is the problem. So you can go through the motions with a lot of coaching work, but without healing, you're just coming from a trauma-based brain, which now science is starting to understand. The trauma-based brain actually puts in the limbic brain, in the emotional nervous system, a lot of blocked trauma in the body. So I work a lot with the body, and people still are really discovering this now, which is such a relief for me. But the emotional system in the body actually puts trauma in the physical body.
Yes.
So sometimes I'm just touching someone's body and they can't even receive that touch. And people don't understand when they're in an intimate relationship, why can't I allow my body to relax? Well, that's because your past trauma, which can also be from your ancestors even, it's in your physical body. And we're still just, I think we're on the verge in science, just beginning to really explore that. The trauma-based work is fantastic and they've allowed us to talk about it. But we're still at the very surface of that discovery of how it really affects our physical body. And I'm really excited to hear you talk about it, Gaia, because it's really important to have people just even understand that coaching's valuable, but that certain patterns get stuck in the person's emotions and in their body, and they need help sometimes to just begin to explore that.
That's true. And that's why some authors even talk about emotions like energy emotion, right? So it's really all connected, and it is true. The way our own past experiences block us in the body are really even, really visible, even, for example, in posture for some people. So once sometimes we address even from the point of view of the body, we start actually moving that energy, and we start even changing the posture and believing in ourselves more. So it's all really connected. You can enter through really healing for a person through different point of entry, as I call them. You can be addressing first the body, and then something will start to unwind in the emotions, or maybe you can, as Patti was talking about in the other podcast, really work through, for example, Reiki healing, because you start with the energy point and then something will start happening into the body. So really, that's why I really love to combine different points of entry to make a difference for people.
Gaia, you offer your clients different ways to work with you. Which is the one you prefer and offers better results?
Yeah, sure. So I love to offer my clients experiences of different length, as they may have different needs. So those sessions I mentioned are single sessions and they are phenomenal, but I believe that a deeper and long-lasting session and transformation comes when we work consistently on ourselves. And this is not just a one and done thing. It is the same concept of wanting to form a new habit. It is just more effective with repetition. And another example is wanting to lose some weight, for example. You cannot pretend to be on a diet for just one day and hoping to get striking and long-lasting results. So for these reasons, I have created my own methodology, which is called Awaken to Your Inner Brilliance method, which I distilled from years of experience of myself and my clients. So it's more like a 6-month-long program where I work one-on-one with clients through a 5-step framework, which is not just combining different healing modalities or patching together a bunch of healing sessions. My program is more characteristic because it's more the way how I combine my knowledge that is different. It is a sequential and structured approach while being as well very personalized, designed to help women experience how the quality of their physical life can be really enhanced in a tangible way when they own their inner strength, their power, and are finally able to exude that confidence that they need to be successful. So I guide and mentor them to apply those new skills for all the 6 months together. And I think it's also more rewarding way to work with my clients because I love really to work with women, as I was telling you, who are more motivated for change and really believe that really a radical transformation is possible. And that is what I mean with believing in yourself, because without this belief, nothing will ever change.
And Gaia, you also have a free gift for our listeners. Could you tell us about the free gift?
Yes. So it is a wonderful 10-page workbook I have especially created for people wanting to enter into my world. And it is called Break Through Your Limits Process. It's a 4-step self-empowerment practice to burst your saboteur and open up in business, relationships, so personal and spiritual growth. And I developed this practice for people preferring to work on their own, at their own pace, maybe can bring the booklet to a retreat and then work on themselves, really to accompany them on a mini journey of self-exploration, to reconnect with their inner world and really learn how to strengthen their new realization with just easy, energetic tools. It is actually an insanely huge value gift that really help with the tendency to sabotage ourselves as much really through the blocks to help us to make different choices. And I hope the listeners will take advantage of this free gift, which can be downloaded from my website.
And can you share your website as well?
Sure. So my website is www.awakeningofgaia.com, and the free gift can be downloaded from either signing up to my newsletter or from the page www.awakeningofgaia.com/free gift.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gaia.
Sure.
Is there anything else, Gaia, you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yeah. I know that I would like to say to the listeners that I may have said things people may have heard many times, but still the actual recipe on how to change their lives may elude them, because it happened to me years ago. Every time I was reading those feel-good phrases and listening to people I classified at the time as hyper-optimistic, I was actually feeling very irritated, as I mentioned. Here I'm facing these problems, thinking over about them, and now you tell me to smile, to stay positive, with a yes, I can do attitude, and it was really, frankly, depressing, especially for people that have, really challenges. Yeah, it can be depressing. But what I can tell the listeners, though, in a short is, I can suggest them to, number one, start being aware of the way they respond or react to life. Number two, be confident and trust the changes are possible. You are not victim of the circumstances. There is always something you can learn about what you are going through. Number three, start considering the beyond the physical. You have a spiritual self and some energy that you can handle, harness, manage to change really your life in practical ways. And fourth, you're not alone. You can definitely work on your own to better your relationships, your work-life balance, but how much time and money is going to cost you in the long run? So looking for help, for mentoring, for guidance is nothing to be ashamed of. So when in doubt, just reach out for, qualified people for help and support.
Well, thank you, Gaia, for so much being our special guest and sharing your expertise with us. We appreciate it.
Sure. And with this, I would really want to thank you, Angela and Patti, for having me today, for giving me an opportunity to spotlight my work. And really, I hope listeners will draw value from what we discussed today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Please share the podcast with others and check out Gaia's website and services at www.awakeningofgaia.com. And we will have Gaia's website link in the show notes, as well as her free offer.
Thank you for listening to Building Better Relationships with Angela and Patti. Send us a message and please like or share the podcast or donate with the Anchor donate button. We really value your feedback.